I wonder if a decade of barren and adult age makes him helpless and scared that his life might never change. We waste our magic and we never tell the truth.
Well, thank you for joining me, Linus. It's such a pleasure to be on the other end of a Zoom call with you. I know it's quite early where you are and quite late for us, but can you tell me a little bit about where you're from and what kind of music you make?
I'm from Iceland, from Reykjavik, the capital. And I make indie folk, folk punk, and then I'm very involved in traditional Icelandic music as well.
Amazing. Amazing. And I know there was a conversation earlier about banjos. Do you play a range of instruments, or are you more of a guitar kind of guy?
Yeah, no, I guitar was the first instrument that I learned, but I've always just loved picking up new instruments and trying to figure them out. So I play a few different string instruments. I play the mandolin and I play the Irish flute as well. And, the banjo, I can kind of, I can work my way around it a little bit, but I would never go on stage and play the banjo.
I'm so excited to get into these collaborations with everyone on our team. There's such a range of interesting instruments. I'm really interested to see. I'd love to see a collab with something in your traditional language across some of the English speaking languages. I think that would be really interesting. And we've got a Taiwanese band, and I'd love to see maybe, almost like a language off line for line kind of thing. I don't know if it would work at all, but
yeah,
that's part of the fun of this project, isn't it? What kind of what made you think about getting into Global Music Match?
Well, a friend of mine was involved in the first one, and he really, really liked it. Svavar Knútur, and he's this, super energetic guy, and he made a lot of fun collaborative videos during that time. But the biggest reason is I kind of took a break from my music career when I had a kid 8 years ago, and I released an album last year as a kind of way to get back into making music and releasing music, and I have a lot of material kind of laying around that doesn't need that much work so that I could release it, but I saw this as an opportunity to kind of get that ball rolling.
I love that. And tell us a bit about your career. Like, are you doing music full time? I know you work behind the scenes in festivals and that kind of thing. What does the musical world look for you, as an artist?
Well, I make some of my money doing music, but usually I would just have a full-time job and doing music on the side. And these days it's been mostly kind of wedding gigs and like kind of functions where I'm playing Irish music for dancing and stuff like that, or it will be the traditional singing sometimes. But I'm studying sound engineering right now in hopes of like that I could work in music full time, like in the music industry full time.
That's such a dream for so many artists, isn't it? Is to just get away with doing music every day in whichever form that comes. Wouldn't that be a nice world?
I had a really nice job that I lost at the end of last year, and I thought, like, I've been working on this career in crafts for a while, and I've built some furniture, and I've built some instruments and stuff, and I don't really care so much about that. Like, the things that I've made in crafts, I've made some nice things, but at the end of the day, like, what I want to leave behind is just music. So when I lost that job, I kind of looked around and thought, okay, I'm gonna give it an honest shot to become a recording engineer and just do music for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Now tell us a little bit about where you live, because Iceland is quite different to Australia, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an absolute ridiculous place to live. Like, you know, but now actually the equinox is today. So we have
There you go.
we have normal hours, normal sunlight. But you know, during the summer, the sun is we have sunlight during the whole day and the whole night. And during the winter, you get maybe 3 hours of sunlight during the day. And you know, when you work in a studio, for example, with no windows, you could very well show up to work and you're inside the whole time when the sun is up. So you never see, you could go a whole week without ever seeing the sun or seeing even sunlight.
That's insane.
Yeah, so you know, very high suicide rates. Like that's just
It does affect people not being in the sunshine, doesn't it? Like,
absolutely, like,
yeah.
and you
Does
know,
it affect the music scene at all? You know, do people not go out because it's dark?
people have some theories about that. It's part of why we have so much music is because you got to fill your time with something. You can't go and hang out on the beach, you know? So like,
Yeah.
people are drawn to, you know, spending their whole evening in a basement, like sweating with their friends and playing music. I don't know. I think it has more to do with it's a very wealthy country and people can afford to, you know, not have a real job, so to speak.
Yeah.
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 You know, people are always trying to find ways to get around admitting that they have privilege. So like, it's the sunlight. No, it's just like it's just colonization. It's all.
I love it. And can you tell us a little bit about what influenced your kind of music? Because it's almost a folk punk in some of those songs, isn't it? What kind of artists are you drawn to?
Well, you know, I've always made music. Like from the second I had a guitar, I wrote as many songs as I learned, or probably more. But I had this really big, there was a band that came through that played here that had a really big impact on me. That's called Defiance, Ohio, a completely unknown band, but it's a folk punk band, a big band in that scene. And you know, they played like guitar and double bass, and there was a violin and a cello, and they're playing these it's like kind of anxious, frustrated songs, you know, with a lot of drive. And I got really into that kind of music. And for years and years, I've been writing songs in that style. And my first album, you know, is much more kind of indie, you know, with very lush instrumentation, big production. And I didn't really know what to do with those songs because it didn't fit. And then like, you know, I just thought like, let's put them all together and put them in this album. So the album, my last album that I released last year, Decisions, it's an ode to that genre. So it's very raw. It's just recorded in my friend's basement. It's all recorded one day. They're all one takes, you know, there's no production. Like it's just like sit down with the guitar and sing all the songs, and then whatever works, you know, we put it out.
Yeah. And do you think, you know, when you make music in that way, there's a different vibe to it? Is that why you chose to record live, do you think?
I mean, it was a way to get around overthinking.
Yeah.
Because, you know, as a songwriter, you're always trying to work in service of the song, and there's always something you can do to make the song better, especially when you have like limited access to the tools that you need. It's very easy to get frustrated and get like to feel like what you're making is lacking. And so, you know, it had been 7 years since I released an album, and you know, I had all through that time I've been writing songs, I've been playing shows, I've been, you know, active. I just really needed to like, I just called my friend and was like, can I just come and play songs for a whole day, and we just released that, and
Yeah.
I think I listened to it one time. Like he chose which songs, which recordings were, and I listened to it one time, and I had such a hard time listening to it because, I was so tempted to say, this song, it really needs like this instrument on it. It needs this, and we need to retake that vocal, but like, this is an album where it's like, what you see is what you get. It's just very straightforward.
Yeah. But I think sometimes that's when the best art is made, in that flow state. That's when it's most real.
Yeah.
And most are like the live show, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I was really not expecting any kind of response to it. Like, it was more for me to get rid of some songs, but I've been really happy with the response that I've gotten. And now, the next thing I'm going to do is going to be totally overproduced.
Yes. It'll probably come together in 7 months instead of 7 years to flows away, isn't it?
Yes, I have a single that's just about ready, and I've been working on it for months and months, and I've been working on it during my sound engineering studies. So I've been able to get a lot of feedback and to work in a studio and with access to a lot of instruments and musicians, and yeah.
Oh, Linus, thank you so much for the chat. Will you finalize this chat by telling people your last name, because I can't pronounce it, because I can't roll my R's.
Oh yeah, it's Orri.
And our Father, our distant parent, I know he prays for me. May my children not inherit my lack of harmony. Picture him in his hometown, born under